All right, friends, buckle up because the plot of Black Bag 2025 is a wild ride you won't want to miss. This movie doesn't just tell a story, it pulls you into a world of espionage, deception, and high-stakes drama that keeps you guessing at every turn. From the opening scene, you're thrown right into the action. We meet the lead character, a burnt-out but brilliant intelligence officer who's handed one final mission: recover the mysterious black bag that everyone, and I mean everyone, seems desperate to get their hands on. Sounds straightforward, right? Oh, but hold on, because the fun is just getting started. The story begins with a bang, quite literally, as a covert mission in Eastern Europe goes sideways, and suddenly the protagonist is on the run, framed for a crime they didn't commit. And here's where things get juicy. The movie doesn't just follow a straight timeline. Nope. It jumps between past and present, slipping in flashbacks that slowly peel back the truth behind the black bag, the betrayal within the agency, and the personal demons haunting our hero. Just when you think you have a handle on what's happening, the movie shifts gears, showing you a conversation or an event from a completely different character's perspective, making you question everything you thought you knew. One of the key turning points comes halfway through when an ally turns out to be a double agent. But the movie doesn't reveal this with a simple line of dialogue. Oh no. It punches you right in the gut with a scene where trust is shattered in the most unexpected way. That's when the tension skyrockets and you're left wondering who the hero can rely on, if anyone. Meanwhile, the emotional stakes keep rising. Our protagonist isn't just chasing a bag. They're chasing redemption, trying to make up for a past mistake that cost innocent lives. It's this emotional layer that elevates the movie beyond just a spy thriller into something with real heart. The climax is pure adrenaline. You've got a race against time, a final showdown that's packed with action, and a reveal about the black bag's contents that flips the entire story on its head. And let me tell you, it's not just about national secrets or money. It's personal, it's raw, and it cuts deep into the theme of sacrifice. By the time the credits roll, you've been taken on a roller coaster through betrayal, loyalty, moral gray zones, and the cost of doing the right thing in a world that's anything but black and white. What makes Black Bag 2025 such a blast to watch is how it constantly plays with your expectations. It's not afraid to jump timelines, shift perspectives, and keep you slightly off balance, and that's exactly why it works. You're not just watching a movie, you're piecing together a puzzle, one that's as much about the human heart as it is about spy games. It's a delicious mix of tension, emotion, and twists that will have you leaning forward, eyes wide, until the very last scene. Let's dive into the beating heart of Black Bag 2025, its characters. Because trust me, this isn't just a spy flick with cool gadgets and explosions. It's a character-driven storm that pulls you in and doesn't let go. At the center of it all is our protagonist, Alex Kane, the disillusioned intelligence officer who's seen too much, lost too much, and is clinging to one last shot at redemption. What makes Alex so compelling isn't just their skill with a gun or their sharp mind. It's the fact that beneath all that hardened exterior, you can feel the cracks. You see the guilt from past missions gone wrong, the weight of choices that haunt them, and that makes every decision, every risk, feel personal and charged with emotion. Now here's where it gets fun. The people swirling around Alex are just as layered. Take Maya, the tech specialist reluctantly pulled into the mission. She starts off as the comic relief, the one cracking jokes while hacking into top-secret databases. But as the story unfolds, you realize she's hiding her own scars. Her arc is one of stepping out from behind the screen and facing danger head-on. And by the end, she's not just the brain of the operation, she's its moral compass. Then you've got Victor, Alex's old mentor, a character who walks the fine line between father figure and potential traitor. Watching their relationship evolve is like watching a game of emotional chess. Every conversation drips with history, regret, and unspoken tension, and when the betrayal bomb finally drops, oh, it stings. But wait, there's more. The villain in Black Bag 2025 isn't your typical mustache-twirling bad guy. Instead, we get a chilling, calculating antagonist, Lina Morozov, who genuinely believes she's the hero of her own story. Lina's motivations are rooted in ideology, not greed, and that makes her all the more terrifying. You can almost understand where she's coming from. And that complexity gives the hero-villain dynamic so much weight. When Alex and Lina finally face off, it's not just fists and bullets flying. It's a collision of worldviews, and that's what makes it unforgettable. The relationships in this movie are like live wires. Trust is constantly being tested. Alliances shift like sand, and every character carries a hidden agenda or emotional wound. Even the side characters, the ones you'd expect to fade into the background, get their little moments of growth or reveal. From the jittery rookie agent trying to prove themselves to the hardened field operative whose loyalty is quietly revealed in a single, breathtaking sacrifice. By the time the credits roll, you don't just remember what the characters did. You remember who they were and how they changed. What really hooks you is the way these arcs weave into the main narrative. It's not just about grabbing the black bag. It's about what each character is willing to sacrifice for the mission, for each other, and ultimately for themselves. You get to watch Alex wrestle with their own demons, Maya transform from hacker to hero, Victor reveal the layers of his loyalty, and Lina force everyone to question what they believe in. It's messy, it's emotional, and it's an absolute blast to watch. By the end, you feel like you've been on the journey with them, heart racing and fists clenched, rooting for them even when they're at their worst. Let's talk about the powerhouse performances that make Black Bag 2025 such an irresistible watch. Right out of the gate, we have Alex Kane, played by none other than the brilliant Emma Cross, who completely disappears into the role. Emma doesn't just act, she lives this character. You can see the wear and tear of Alex's past in the smallest flicker of doubt in their eyes or the tight clench of their jaw when a mission goes sideways. It's not the big action moments that hit the hardest. It's the quiet, raw moments when Alex is sitting alone, wrestling with guilt or trying to decide if they can trust anyone. Emma takes a tough, world-weary agent and injects just the right amount of vulnerability to make you care deeply about what's going on inside that steely exterior. Then we've got the delightful surprise of the film. Maya, played by Zoe Patel, who absolutely steals scenes left and right. Zoe brings a magnetic mix of sharp wit, charm, and emotional depth to Maya. What starts as comic relief quickly turns into something so much richer. Zoe nails the transition from snarky tech wizard to courageous field partner without ever losing that spark of humor that makes Maya so lovable. The chemistry between Emma and Zoe is electric. Whether they're bickering in the middle of a chase or sharing a rare quiet moment of honesty, you can't take your eyes off them. And speaking of chemistry, let's not forget Victor, played by the legendary Mark Delaney. Mark brings this quiet storm energy to Victor, a man whose every glance and measured word carries the weight of decades of secrets. It's a masterclass in subtlety. There's a moment when Victor and Alex lock eyes after a brutal betrayal, and without a single line spoken, Mark delivers a performance that hits like a punch to the gut. You feel the history between them, the love, the disappointment, and the heartbreak all in one look. Of course, no great spy thriller is complete without an unforgettable villain, and Lena Morozov, played by Natalia Roman, is an absolute force. Natalia doesn't play Lena as a typical cold, one-note villain. Instead, she gives Lena layers, depth, and terrifying conviction. You almost want to root for her because Natalia makes you believe in Lena's cause. Her scenes with Emma are some of the most intense in the film. A battle of wits and wills where every line is a dagger and every smirk feels like a challenge. Even the supporting cast gets their time to shine. There's Daniel Cho as the rookie agent who delivers a surprisingly emotional arc, and Marcus Reed as the hardened field operative whose gruff exterior hides a tender loyalty. These aren't just background players. They bring an authenticity that makes the world of Black Bag 2025 feel lived in and real. What's so fun about watching this ensemble is how they elevate each other. You can tell they're all locked in, feeding off each other's energy, pushing the emotional stakes higher and higher. Whether it's in a high-octane action scene or a hushed conversation in a dimly lit safe house, every actor brings their A game. The result? A film where the performances don't just serve the story. They become the heartbeat of the story, pulling you in and refusing to let go. Let's get into the real mastermind behind Black Bag 2025, director Julian Marks, who doesn't just steer the ship. He turns it into a thrilling, edge-of-your-seat roller coaster you never want to get off. From the first frame, Julian sets a tone that's tense, sleek, and crackling with energy. He knows exactly when to dial up the adrenaline and when to let a scene breathe, giving the audience moments to catch their breath before throwing them right back into the fire. What's brilliant is how Julian balances style with substance. This isn't just a glossy action flick with flashy explosions. It's a carefully crafted spy drama where every shot, every movement, and every silence has purpose. One of Julian's standout moves is the way he plays with light and shadow. Whether it's a rain-soaked street lit by flickering neon or a dimly lit safe house where secrets are whispered in the dark, the mood is thick and immersive. You feel the paranoia creeping into every corner. And let's talk about the shot composition. There are moments when Julian frames characters in tight, claustrophobic spaces, making you feel their isolation and tension, only to suddenly burst into wide, sweeping shots of cities, airports, and frozen landscapes that remind you how big and dangerous this world really is. It's a masterclass in visual storytelling that pulls you deeper into the experience. Pacing-wise, Julian keeps things razor sharp. There's this beautiful rhythm to the film, moments of fast, heart-pounding action where the camera moves like a predator, darting through fights and chases, followed by quiet, reflective scenes that give the characters and the audience time to process. He knows exactly when to slow things down and when to hit the gas, so you're never left checking the time or wondering when things will pick up. And when it comes to emotional beats, Julian leans into the humanity of the story. He lingers on faces, on subtle gestures, on the things left unsaid, making sure the audience feels every betrayal, every loss, every hard-earned victory. Julian also isn't afraid to take risks. There are moments when the film dips into nonlinear storytelling, jumping between timelines or showing the same scene from two different perspectives, and it's done with such confidence that it keeps you hooked instead of confused. 1 minute you're in the middle of a brutal ambush. The next you're pulled back to a crucial conversation from weeks earlier that redefines everything you just saw. These shifts never feel gimmicky. They deepen the mystery and raise the emotional stakes. And let's not forget the action scenes, which are some of the most tightly directed, pulse-pounding moments in the film. Julian avoids the shaky cam chaos that plagues so many action movies today. Instead, he gives you clean, choreographed sequences where you can actually see what's happening, feel the impact of every punch, and track every desperate escape. He shoots action like a dance, precise, brutal, and mesmerizing. Most importantly, Julian's direction brings out the best in his cast. You can feel the trust between director and actors in every scene. He gives them space to explore their characters, to play with silence, to dig into the messy, complicated emotions underneath all the spy games. It's that blend of high-stakes spectacle and intimate human drama that makes the film not just thrilling, but genuinely memorable. Julian doesn't just deliver a story, he creates an experience, and you can feel his fingerprint on every frame. Let's talk about the absolute visual feast that is the cinematography of Black Bag 2025, because wow, this film knows how to grab your eyeballs and refuse to let go. From the moment the first scene lights up the screen, you can tell cinematographer Elena Ruiz came to play. She doesn't just point a camera at the action. She sculpts light and shadow, movement and stillness into something that feels alive, pulsing with tension, mood, and meaning. One of the most striking things Elena does is use camera angles to constantly play with power and vulnerability. When Alex Kane is in control, the camera gives us these low, confident angles that make them look like a force of nature. But the second doubt or danger creeps in, Elena flips it. Suddenly we're looking down at Alex or shooting through barriers and reflections, making you feel the cracks in their armor. It's a subtle but genius way of letting the camera tell the emotional story alongside the actors. And when things get chaotic, Elena's camera doesn't panic, it flows. Whether it's weaving through a tense surveillance op or tracking a breathless foot chase across rooftops, the movement stays smooth and intentional, pulling you right into the heart-pounding energy without ever making you feel lost. Lighting is where this film really sets the mood on fire. Think rainy city streets glowing under neon lights, shadowy hotel rooms where a single lamp throws long, dramatic shadows, or icy landscapes bathed in eerie blue light. Elena uses light not just for atmosphere, but as an emotional language. Warm tones when there's trust or vulnerability, harsh cold light when betrayal or danger lurks. There's this one unforgettable moment where Alex stands in a doorway, caught between the golden glow of safety and the cold blue of the mission outside, and it's like watching their internal struggle come to life right on the screen. Pure cinematic poetry. Framing is another playground where Elena shows off her brilliance. Characters are often framed through windows, mirrors, or security cameras, adding layers of meaning and tension. You're constantly reminded that in this world of spies and secrets, someone's always watching, and no one's ever really safe. And let's not ignore those moments when she pulls back for wide shots, sweeping skylines, vast deserts, crowded airports, that remind you how small and fragile these characters are in the grand scheme of things. It's those visual contrasts between the intimate and the epic that make the movie feel so textured and immersive. And oh, the standout moments. There's an absolutely jaw-dropping night raid sequence shot almost entirely in silhouette, where you just see flashes of movement against a burning backdrop. It's haunting, beautiful, and brutal all at once. Then there's a tense interrogation scene where the camera stays locked in an unbroken close-up on Alex's face as they process a devastating reveal. No cuts, no distractions, just pure, raw emotion captured in a single, perfect shot. These moments don't just look good, they hit you in the gut. What makes the cinematography so exciting is that it never feels like style for the sake of style. Every shot, every angle, every flicker of light is working overtime to deepen the story, build the mood, and keep you on the edge of your seat. It's not just a movie you watch, it's a movie you feel through your eyes, thanks to Elena Ruiz's masterful lens. Now let's get into the pulse of Black Bag 2025, the editing and pacing, because honestly, this is the secret sauce that makes the whole movie snap, crackle, and explode on screen. Right from the opening minutes, the editing grabs you by the collar and says, "Hang on, we're going for a ride," and it never loosens that grip. Editor Marcus Hale knows exactly how to keep the tension simmering, the emotions raw, and the momentum driving forward like a freight train with no brakes. What's brilliant is how seamlessly the film moves between its various timelines and perspectives without ever making you feel lost. We're jumping from past to present, from a smoky bar in Prague to a high-tech surveillance room in London, from a tense street chase to a hushed conversation in a safe house, and yet it all flows so smoothly you barely realize how much ground you're covering. Marcus nails the transitions. A lingering look in one timeline cuts perfectly into a memory from another. The slam of a door in the present crashes into the sound of gunfire in a flashback. It's slick, it's stylish, and it keeps your brain locked in, piecing the puzzle together as you go. Now let's talk about the pacing, because here's where the magic really happens. Black Bag 2025 knows exactly when to punch the gas and when to ease off and let you breathe. The action scenes are fast, sharp, and electric, with rapid cuts that still manage to stay clean and clear. You're not left dizzy or disoriented. You're right there in the middle of the chaos, heart racing. And just when you're about to burn out from the tension, the film slows down, letting you sink into the quieter, more introspective moments. Those pauses are where the emotional weight lands. A character wrestling with guilt, a whispered confession, a glance that says everything words can't. The editing knows the value of stillness, and that contrast makes the action hit even harder when it kicks back in. One of the most satisfying things is how the film builds rhythm across its scenes. You've got short, sharp bursts during combat or chase sequences, bam, 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 that leave you breathless. Then you slide into these longer, more deliberate takes in dialogue-heavy moments, where the camera lingers and the cuts slow down, drawing out tension like a held breath. It's like the movie has its own heartbeat, quickening and slowing in all the right places, and that rhythm keeps you engaged from start to finish. And we can't skip over the montages. Oh, the glorious montages. There's one in particular, where Alex and Maya prepare for a final mission that stitches together small, intimate character beats with the ticking clock urgency of the plot. It's cut to perfection, building anticipation without feeling rushed, giving you a sense of progress, stakes, and vulnerability all at once. What's really fun is that the editing also plays a role in the film's mind games. There are moments when you get just enough information to think you know what's happening, and then a single, cleverly placed cut reveals you've been looking at the wrong thing the whole time. It keeps you sharp, keeps you guessing, and adds layers of tension that make the whole experience addictive. In the end, the editing and pacing of Black Bag 2025 don't just support the story. They are the story's lifeblood, shaping how you feel every twist, every revelation, and every blow. It's not just about keeping things moving fast. It's about knowing when to hit the brakes, when to swerve, and when to send the audience flying off a narrative cliff, screaming and loving every second of it. Let's dive into the heartbeat of Black Bag 2025, the soundtrack and score, because this film knows how to make your ears tingle just as much as your eyes. From the opening notes, the music immediately sets the tone, blending urgency with mystery, and you feel like you're being pulled into a high-stakes thriller that's going to keep you on edge. The composer, Rachel Wainwright, does an absolutely stellar job crafting a score that's as slick and intense as the film itself. The music doesn't just accompany the action. It amplifies it, heightening every moment and giving the film its own pulse. One of the most striking elements is how the score intertwines with the atmosphere. During tense, heart-pounding chase scenes, the music ratchets up the urgency, with sharp, staccato beats that mirror the frantic movement on screen. It's like you can feel your own heart racing, syncing up with the rhythm of the chase. But here's where Rachel really flexes her skills. She knows when to pull back. There are moments of stunning silence that hit harder than any music could. A character standing alone, staring at the consequences of their actions, the silence is deafening and carries more weight than any orchestral swell could. It's a clever contrast, making the rare moments of music feel all the more powerful when they come crashing in. Throughout the film, there's a recurring musical motif that symbolizes Alex's inner turmoil and the stakes of their mission. It starts off subtle, a low, haunting melody that you hear in the background during scenes of contemplation or uncertainty. As the film progresses, that motif rises, becoming more intense, more layered, until it's a full-on crescendo that mirrors the character's journey. It's as though the music is constantly pushing Alex forward, urging them to confront their past, and it's a perfect reflection of the emotional complexity of the character. It's not just a melody, it's a voice, a constant reminder of the choices that have led them to this point. And speaking of emotional beats, Rachel knows how to play with contrasts in the music. There's one key scene where Alex is confronted with a moral dilemma, and the music switches from tense, industrial sounds to something softer, almost melancholic. It's subtle, but it gives the moment a haunting quality, as if the decision weighs more than just the immediate danger. It's a beautiful, delicate touch that gives the scene depth and resonance, making you feel the emotional burden the character is under. Then there's the action. Let's talk about those heart-racing sequences where the music really takes center stage. In one of the final showdowns, the music builds like a slow burn, layering in electronic beats and orchestral flourishes, creating a sonic wave that mirrors the intensity of the battle. It's a perfect storm of sound and fury, propelling the action to its highest peak. But even here, Rachel knows when to ease off, letting the music drop out for a second to leave room for the pounding of fists, the sound of breath, and the physical intensity of the fight. It's the dynamic balance between music and silence that keeps everything feeling alive and fresh. What's truly impressive is how seamlessly the music blends into the overall tone of the film. It never feels like it's just there for the sake of drama or to fill in space. It feels essential, like it's part of the fabric of the story. The score elevates every scene, from the quiet moments of reflection to the chaotic, pulse-pounding action. It's a masterclass in using music to enhance a film's emotional depth without overshadowing the story. In the end, the soundtrack and score of Black Bag 2025 aren't just accompaniments. They're a character in their own right, moving in and out of the narrative, intensifying the tension, deepening the emotional beats, and making the entire experience feel like a symphony of storytelling. It's a perfect blend of sonic energy that never overpowers, but always enhances, leaving you humming those haunting motifs long after the credits roll. Let's take a deep dive into the thematic layers that Black Bag 2025 so cleverly weaves into its narrative. This isn't just a film about espionage, double crosses, and high-tech chases. It's a film that digs deep into the messy, complicated parts of being human. One of the core themes that runs throughout is the idea of trust and its fragility. In a world where nothing is ever as it seems, the question of who you can trust and how much of yourself you're willing to give drives the emotional engine of the film. Alex Kane, the lead character, is constantly grappling with this. There's a deep tension between their professional life, where trust is a currency traded with caution, and their personal life, where trust is something far more fragile and painful to navigate. The film doesn't just throw these questions at you. It makes you feel them. It makes you squirm as you watch characters make choices that challenge their loyalties, their values, and their very sense of self. The cost of secrecy is another theme that runs through the veins of this story. Secrets in this world are currency, but they come at a heavy price. Each character in Black Bag 2025 is hiding something, and as the layers peel back, you start to see how those secrets shape their actions, their relationships, and their futures. It's not just about what's hidden, but about the emotional toll of living a life built on deception. Alex's arc, in particular, is a journey of reckoning with the weight of the lies they've told, the betrayals they've committed, and the people they've hurt along the way. It's not all about dramatic reveals. The film is smart in showing the quieter, more painful moments when the burden of secrecy becomes unbearable, and you realize that the truth, no matter how painful, might be the only thing that can free these characters from the chains they've built. Then there's the theme of identity and how it's shaped by both the external world and the internal battles we fight. Alex isn't just dealing with the conflict of being a spy in a morally gray world. They're also battling the larger question of who they are underneath it all. The tension between the public face Alex presents and the person they are beneath the surface creates this incredible emotional conflict. It's a struggle that many can relate to. How much of ourselves do we reveal? And how much do we bury in order to survive? And as the story unfolds, we see how identity can be both fluid and fixed, shaped by circumstances, choices, and the past. The exploration of personal identity is beautifully reflected in the way Alex's relationships evolve, from the friendships they're building to the painful betrayals they must face. It's a haunting reminder of how much of who we are is shaped by what we choose to reveal or conceal. But what's truly fascinating about Black Bag 2025 is how it doesn't just push these themes in your face. It lets them simmer beneath the surface, building up over time, and allowing the audience to process them alongside the characters. There's no heavy-handed messaging here. Instead, the film explores these ideas in a way that feels organic and earned, rather than forced or preachy. You feel these themes in the quiet moments, in the pauses between dialogue, the way characters look at each other, or the way a decision is made with a single, lingering glance. It's subtle but powerful, and it lingers with you long after the film ends. One of the most provocative ideas the film plays with is the price of redemption. Alex's journey is, in many ways, a quest for redemption. But redemption here doesn't come easy, and it doesn't come without sacrifice. The film constantly asks the audience, is redemption possible for someone who has done unspeakable things? And even if it is it worth the cost? It's a theme that will make you reflect on your own life choices, on the things you've done and the people you've hurt, and whether true redemption can ever be fully attained, or if it's simply an ongoing process of reckoning. What makes these themes even more compelling is how they're woven into the action and the drama of the film. The moral dilemmas aren't just abstract concepts. They're tied to real, urgent decisions with stakes that couldn't be higher. Each character faces the consequences of their actions, and the film doesn't shy away from showing how those choices ripple out into their relationships and futures. It's a smart, layered approach that makes the themes feel both relevant and deeply personal. In the end, Black Bag 2025 isn't just about thrills and action. It's about the emotional and philosophical journey of its characters. It's a film that challenges you to think about trust, identity, secrecy, and redemption, and it does so with a finesse that makes each of these themes resonate long after the credits roll. Now let's talk about the real-world magic of Black Bag 2025, the set design and locations. The settings in this film aren't just backdrops, they are part of the story, weaving themselves into the plot and elevating the narrative with every frame. From the gritty urban streets to sleek high-tech facilities, the production team does an exceptional job crafting a world that feels lived in, dynamic, and downright cinematic. It's one of those films where every location feels like it has a life of its own, whether it's a shadowy alley or a futuristic command center. Take the opening scenes in the desolate cityscape. The film kicks off in an industrial, almost dystopian urban sprawl, all cracked pavement, flickering streetlights, and towering buildings that look like they've seen too many secrets. The world feels oppressive, with every corner whispering danger and mystery. These locations aren't just pretty backdrops, they set the mood. The city itself feels like an extension of the characters' inner turmoil, grim, cold, and full of hidden corners where things fester beneath the surface. It's the kind of city that feels alive, breathing, and ever watchful, which makes sense given the world of espionage that the characters inhabit. And then there's the contrast in the locations. While the city is dark and gritty, we're often thrown into spaces of cold, sterile beauty, futuristic tech hubs, underground bases, ultra-modern offices. These places feel like they were pulled right out of the future, with sleek glass surfaces, metallic finishes, and minimalistic designs that scream high stakes and high tech. It's this clash between the gritty and the glossy that keeps things visually exciting and thematic. You're constantly reminded that in a world of shadowy secrets, there are two sides, the raw, human side, and the cold, impersonal machinery of espionage. It's a subtle but powerful visual storytelling tool, showing the difference between the human cost of the characters' actions and the impersonal, calculating forces they're up against. Then, when the film shifts to more intimate settings, a quiet cabin in the woods, a small, nondescript hotel room, the change in tone is immediately felt. The walls close in, the space feels more claustrophobic, and you get the sense that, for all the global intrigue happening, these characters are still just people trapped by their own choices and fears. These locations make the emotional weight of the story hit harder. It's as if the setting is mirroring the characters' internal struggles. The soft, muted lighting in these scenes, paired with the more minimalist design, creates a sense of vulnerability and isolation that perfectly complements the personal stakes at play. As for the props and set details, this film goes the extra mile in ensuring that even the smallest items are part of the narrative. Whether it's the high-tech gadgets, sleek, futuristic, but with a tactile realism that makes you believe in their function, or the little personal touches in characters' homes and offices, the set design reflects the world these characters occupy. There's this particular scene where Alex checks a burner phone in a dimly lit room, and the simple action of them placing the phone on a glass surface and watching the light reflect off, it feels loaded with significance. It's all in the details, the worn edges of a map that gets folded into a bag, the flickering light of a monitor in a dark room, the messy, disorganized clutter that speaks to the chaos of a life built on lies. These little things tell you just as much about the characters as their dialogue does. And the locations themselves, whether it's a quiet corner of an Eastern European cafe or the sleek, chrome surfaces of a high-tech spy facility, are more than just places where the action happens. They inform the action. A quiet, narrow alley in Prague isn't just a space for a chase scene. It's a place where secrets are exchanged, where trust is tested, and where the stakes are as high as the surrounding rooftops. The sense of geography is always intentional, with every location adding another layer to the tension, drama, or emotional weight of the scene. One of the most visually compelling aspects is how weather and natural elements are incorporated into the locations. Take the snow-covered landscapes during a key chase scene. The blinding whiteness contrasts sharply with the dark motives at play, creating an atmosphere of isolation, confusion, and danger. The cold feels like a tangible thing in these moments, adding an extra level of discomfort and urgency to the chase. It's a masterful way of showing how the environment isn't just a setting, it's another character in the film, influencing the action, the decisions, and even the emotions of the characters. The film's locations are a perfect blend of function and aesthetics. They don't just serve the story, they enhance it, with every set piece, every building, every shadow contributing to the overall atmosphere and tone. They ground the film in a world that feels both familiar and foreign, real and surreal, pulling you in deeper with every scene. It's a testament to how thoughtful and intentional set design and location choices can transform a movie from just a series of events into a fully realized world. When it comes to the dialogue and script of Black Bag 2025, the writing is sharp, slick, and perfectly tuned to the world these characters inhabit. This isn't your typical action thriller where the dialogue is just a series of one-liners and exposition dumps. Oh no, this script goes deep, blending moments of high-stakes tension with sharp wit, biting sarcasm, and emotional resonance that hits you right in the gut. The writing feels effortlessly natural, even when the characters are in life-or-death situations. It's that blend of realism and dramatic flair that makes the dialogue in this film stand out. One of the film's most brilliant aspects is how the dialogue strikes a balance between humor and gravity. It's not afraid to let characters drop a clever quip in the middle of a tense standoff or a high-speed chase. These moments of humor don't undercut the tension. Instead, they act as a coping mechanism for the characters, a way to deal with the insanity of their lives. And it's this kind of wit that makes the characters feel alive. The banter between Alex and their sidekick Maya is a perfect example of this. They trade sarcastic lines, jabs, and even some playful insults, but beneath the surface, you can see the deep bond they share. It's a refreshing change from the usual brooding loners. These characters feel real because they're able to crack a joke or two even when the world is collapsing around them. But don't get it twisted. This isn't all about clever one-liners. The script knows when to slow things down and give space for some emotional depth. There are several moments where the dialogue takes a turn into raw, honest vulnerability. One such moment occurs when Alex confronts a figure from their past, and the exchange is so loaded with emotional weight that you can practically feel the tension crackling in the air. The words may seem simple on the surface, but there's a heaviness to them. Like every sentence is a knife twist in a wound that's been festering for years. These moments of stillness and raw emotion are where the script really shines, drawing you into the inner lives of these characters and making you feel the stakes on a personal level. And then, of course, there are the standout lines that you'll find yourself thinking about long after the credits roll. One of the most memorable is a line Alex delivers near the end of the film, where they reflect on everything they've lost and everything they're willing to sacrifice for the mission. It's not a grand speech, but it's delivered with such conviction that it resonates. It's one of those lines that encapsulates the heart of the film, the battle between personal redemption and the cold machinery of the world they live in. It's a small, almost understated moment, but it speaks volumes about who Alex is and what they stand for. Another standout moment is during a particularly tense negotiation scene where a character says, "In this game, the truth is the first casualty." It's a line that perfectly encapsulates the entire theme of deception that runs through the film. It's not just a throwaway line. It's a philosophy that guides the actions of every character. That moment sticks with you because it sums up the moral murkiness of the world these characters occupy. A world where nothing is ever as it seems, and the truth is always in short supply. What's also clever about the script is how it plays with subtext. The dialogue rarely says everything outright, which keeps the audience engaged in decoding what's really going on beneath the surface. A casual remark can have multiple meanings, or a silence can speak louder than any words. For instance, there's a scene where Alex and Maya are having a quiet drink in a bar, and the conversation appears lighthearted at first, but you can feel the weight of unspoken truths between them. It's in these moments where the script subtlety really comes to the forefront, adding layers of complexity to the characters' relationships and their journeys. In terms of pacing, the dialogue is perfectly timed. There's a rhythm to the exchanges that keeps things moving, whether it's a tense conversation filled with sharp jabs or a quiet, introspective moment between two characters grappling with their choices. The dialogue rarely feels forced. It feels earned, organic, like these characters are genuinely speaking from their hearts, even when they're hiding behind a wall of sarcasm or cold professionalism. What's impressive is how the script can balance all these elements, humor, drama, tension, and raw emotion, without ever feeling cluttered. The dialogue flows seamlessly, guiding you through the twists and turns of the plot while ensuring you're emotionally invested in the characters. It's a testament to how well the writing understands its own world and its characters, giving them voices that feel distinct and memorable. In Black Bag 2025, the dialogue doesn't just serve the story. It elevates it, transforming what could have been a straightforward thriller into a multi-layered, emotionally complex experience. Black Bag 2025 is a masterclass in genre execution, striking that perfect balance between following tried and true conventions of the spy thriller genre and flipping the script with fresh ideas that keep you on your toes. It's a film that knows exactly what it is, a high-stakes action-packed ride filled with twists and betrayals, but it doesn't settle for simply ticking the boxes. It brings something new to the table while still playing with the expectations you have when you sit down to watch a thriller of this nature. At first glance, it might seem like another spy thriller in a world of deceit, high-tech gadgets, and shadowy organizations, and it's not wrong. You've got your mysterious government agents, your dangerous covert operations, and your pulse-pounding action sequences. But what makes Black Bag 2025 stand out is how it subverts the formula in subtle ways. Instead of focusing solely on the big, explosive moments, though don't worry, there are plenty of those, the film takes its time with character development, making sure that the stakes aren't just external, but deeply emotional and personal. In a genre often defined by faceless villains and generic motives, Black Bag gives you characters you can feel. Not just spy cliches, but real, complicated human beings with their own demons, regrets, and desires. The film's pacing is a great example of how it balances action, suspense, and drama. Where many spy thrillers might rush from one action set piece to the next, Black Bag understands that sometimes the real tension lies in the quiet moments. The heart-pounding chases, firefights, and explosive confrontations are there. Yes, but they never feel overdone or forced. Instead, the film gives equal weight to the moments where the characters are in a room, just talking, negotiating, betraying, or trying to outwit each other. These quieter, more cerebral moments are often the most tense, building suspense with just a look or a carefully chosen word. It's a smart way of keeping the audience engaged without constantly relying on physical spectacle. And when the action does hit, it hits hard. The action sequences in Black Bag 2025 are carefully crafted to be both thrilling and meaningful. There's a rawness to the stunts. It's not just about running, shooting, or jumping over rooftops. It's about how those moments contribute to the overall narrative. Each action scene has a purpose, whether it's to reveal a character's desperation, their resourcefulness, or the emotional toll of the choices they've made. This is a film that knows how to use action to enhance the emotional stakes, not just fill time with explosions. When Alex and their team are running for their lives, it's not just about surviving the chase. It's about what they're willing to sacrifice to stay one step ahead of their enemies. But the real twist on genre conventions comes in how the suspense is handled. A lot of spy thrillers rely on a cat and mouse game where the characters are always two steps ahead of the audience. Black Bag 2025 plays with that, but in a much more grounded way. Instead of giving you the typical all-knowing, omnipotent hero, the film shows you characters who are just as much in the dark as you are. They're figuring things out as they go, often stumbling into situations, being blindsided by betrayal, or realizing they've been outplayed. The suspense in this film isn't about knowing what will happen next, but about how the characters are going to react when everything falls apart. Where the film truly subverts expectations is in its handling of humor. In a genre that often takes itself too seriously, Black Bag finds moments of levity without undermining the tension. There's a sharp, quick-witted humor that feels like a release valve for the intense pressure these characters are under. It's not constant, and it doesn't feel out of place. Instead, it's carefully sprinkled throughout, usually through the interactions between Alex and their allies. It's these moments of humor that make the characters feel more human, more relatable. They're not just cold operatives in a high-stakes game. They're people who can laugh, make jokes, and deal with the absurdity of their situation, even when the world around them is crumbling. It's a smart choice because it allows the audience to catch their breath before diving back into the action or the emotional drama. The way the film handles drama is another key strength. It's not just about high-tech espionage or complicated spy maneuvers. It's about the emotional weight of the characters' actions. The film doesn't shy away from showing the personal consequences of the decisions these spies make. The betrayals, the the moral compromises, and the personal toll of living a life of deception all come to the forefront, giving the film a level of depth you don't always get in genre films. The drama is often quieter, more intimate, focusing on the relationships between the characters and how those relationships evolve over the course of the film. It's about the internal struggle of characters who are constantly questioning their loyalty, their motivations, and their own identities in a world that demands everything from them. Black Bag 2025 redefines the genre in a lot of ways by blending the traditional elements with a deeper emotional core. It's not content to rest on the laurels of its spy thriller conventions. Instead, it weaves them into a story that feels fresh, exciting, and full of nuance. There's no relying on tired tropes or predictable plot twists here. The film brings you something unexpected with every turn, and that's what makes it stand out in a genre that often feels saturated with formulaic storytelling. It's a movie that knows how to play with the rules, breaking free from genre conventions while still delivering the thrills and tension that fans crave. Black Bag 2025 doesn't just entertain with its pulse-pounding action or mind-bending twists, it's also quietly making a statement about the world we live in. The film cleverly layers in social and cultural commentary, addressing contemporary issues in ways that feel both relevant and thought-provoking. You don't have to look hard to see that the film isn't just about espionage. It's about the systems of power that govern our lives, the shadows we live in, and how truth is often manipulated to serve agendas. This isn't just a thriller with a couple of surface-level references to politics or social issues. No, this film digs deeper, giving you a glimpse into the murky waters of surveillance, the blurred lines of loyalty and betrayal, and the impact of a world where nothing is as it seems. From the very first scene, you realize that power structures are under the microscope. The government, corporations, and shadowy organizations are portrayed not as mere antagonists, but as systems that thrive on secrecy, manipulation, and control. In fact, one of the most compelling elements of the film is how it addresses the loss of privacy and the cost of living in a surveillance state. As the characters navigate their high-stakes missions, they're constantly being watched, their every move tracked, their decisions scrutinized by unseen forces. This isn't just a futuristic concept. It's a nod to the very real concerns of our current world, where surveillance technologies are ever growing and our personal data is constantly up for grabs. The way the film handles these themes is nuanced, never too on the nose or preachy. It's woven into the very fabric of the story, with characters questioning who they can trust, what information is real, and whether any of their actions will truly make a difference in a world governed by unseen forces. These questions echo real-life concerns. Who controls the flow of information? How much are we willing to sacrifice for safety? At what point does the pursuit of justice cross the line into something darker? Black Bag 2025 doesn't offer easy answers to these questions, but it forces you to confront them through the lens of its characters, making the commentary feel organic and integral to the story. On a more cultural level, the film also delves into the idea of identity and the impact of global interconnectedness. The constant shifting of alliances, the manipulation of truth, and the blurred lines between right and wrong all reflect the fragmented nature of our modern world, where cultural and political divisions seem to be growing wider by the day. The film hints at how the global stage is no longer just about national conflicts. It's about competing ideologies, shifting power dynamics, and the ever-present undercurrent of disinformation. It's a sobering commentary on how culture, politics, and technology intersect, often in ways that leave us questioning the very nature of reality. The film also has a subtle commentary on personal responsibility in a world where actions often have far-reaching, unintended consequences. As Alex and the team wrestle with their decisions, the audience is reminded that in the game of espionage, there are no real heroes, only people who are caught in the gears of a much larger machine. It's a tough pill to swallow, especially as the stakes get higher, but it's a powerful reflection on the compromises people make in the name of a greater cause, and how easy it is to lose sight of what's truly important. What's also fascinating is how the film deals with gender dynamics in a genre often dominated by male characters. While not overtly focused on gender issues, Black Bag 2025 gives you complex, layered female characters who stand on equal footing with their male counterparts. Maya, Alex's ally, is no mere sidekick. She's a force in her own right, capable of holding her own in combat and offering emotional depth that adds to the complexity of the story. The way these women are portrayed, strong, smart, and capable, feels like a natural evolution within the genre without it ever feeling forced or out of place. The film makes a point of showing that in this world of espionage, it's not about gender, it's about the skill, intelligence, and drive to survive. In terms of sensitive topics, the film tackles betrayal, loyalty, and moral compromise head-on. These aren't just themes, they're embedded in the characters' arcs and choices. There's a real emotional weight behind every decision Alex makes, and the consequences of these choices often hit harder than the physical action. It's about the internal struggle that comes with having to make impossible decisions, choosing between the greater good and personal loyalty, between sacrifice and survival. It's a commentary on the gray areas of life, where right and wrong aren't always so clearly defined. The characters wrestle with these dilemmas in a way that feels relatable to anyone who's ever had to make a tough call or question their own values. There's also a quiet reflection on trust and information warfare. In a world where digital manipulation is rampant, the film highlights how even those closest to you can be compromised and how truth can be twisted to fit any narrative. In this climate, trust is a rare commodity, and the character's journey is just as much about finding who they can trust as it is about surviving the threats coming their way. The exploration of fake news, propaganda, and disinformation doesn't feel like a lecture. It's just a natural part of the world these characters live in. But when you think about it, you realize how much the themes reflect the reality of our media-driven culture, where the lines between truth and fiction are often indistinguishable. All in all, Black Bag 2025 doesn't shy away from cultural and social commentary. It addresses the complexities of our modern world with intelligence and subtlety, offering insights without ever hitting you over the head with them. The film uses its genre, the spy thriller, as a vehicle to explore deeper questions about privacy, trust, and morality in a rapidly changing world. It's a movie that challenges you to think, while still keeping you entertained. And that's what makes it not only a great thriller, but a timely reflection on the world we live in. Black Bag 2025 doesn't just entertain. It grabs you, pulling you into its whirlwind of action, emotion, and tension. The emotional roller coaster this film takes you on is not just a fleeting thrill. It's something that sticks with you long after the credits roll. It's the kind of film that makes you feel every twist and turn in your gut, keeping you on edge, but also making you care about what happens to the characters, even when things look like they're about to go off the rails. One of the things that Black Bag 2025 does incredibly well is making you feel. Whether it's the rush of excitement during the action sequences or the quiet, reflective moments where characters are grappling with their choices, the film knows exactly when to hit the emotional gas pedal. Some films rely on big moments to generate emotion, a last-minute save, or a dramatic death. Black Bag doesn't just wait for those moments, it builds them up, creating a deeper connection with the audience. It's not just about what happens, but how it makes you feel as it unfolds. Every decision, every betrayal, every moment of doubt lands with weight. There are defining moments in the film that make you want to shout at the screen, gasp, or sit in stunned silence. These moments are crafted to elicit shock, not in a cheap, gotcha way, but through careful build-up and character development. There are reveals that catch you off guard. Characters making choices that make you rethink everything you thought you knew about them. It's not just about what happens next, but how is this going to change everything? When the story takes a turn you didn't see coming, the audience is left wide-eyed, holding their breath, anticipating what will unfold next. These shocks feel earned because you've spent the whole film getting to know these characters, their fears, hopes, and vulnerabilities. So when the stakes get raised, it hits hard. But it's not all about intensity and tension. Black Bag 2025 also knows how to balance its darker moments with lighter, human moments that make the characters relatable. There's a surprising amount of humor that sneaks in during some of the most tense scenes, often through witty dialogue or small character moments. This humor doesn't break the tension. Rather, it provides a welcome relief, a way for the audience to breathe before the next high-stakes moment. It's the kind of humor that makes you smile, even if you know the characters are about to face even more danger. And then there's the emotional depth that sneaks up on you. The film isn't just about the physical action. It's about how the action affects the people involved. As the stakes get higher, the characters are forced to confront their own personal demons, and those moments of self-reflection or regret hit hard. There are several scenes where characters find themselves at a crossroads, forced to choose between what's best for the mission and what's best for their own soul. These moments invite the audience to ask themselves, what would I do in their shoes? It's these quieter, more introspective moments that make you feel deeply connected to the story and its characters. The film also thrives in creating an inviting atmosphere for repeat viewings. This isn't just a one-time watch and done. Black Bag 2025 is a film that gets richer with each rewatch, as you pick up on the subtle clues, foreshadowing, and hidden meanings you might have missed the first time around. Whether it's a character's offhand remark or a visual cue in the background, the film is layered in a way that rewards those who pay close attention. There's always something new to discover, a detail that might change the way you see a scene or a character's motivation. This is the kind of film that keeps you talking long after it's over, where you go back and dissect every twist, trying to figure out if you missed something or wondering how you could have predicted that moment. And then there's the discussions the film sparks. As the credits roll, you'll find yourself discussing the moral implications of the characters' choices, the impact of the twists, or what the film says about trust, loyalty, and betrayal. Black Bag 2025 doesn't just give you a story, it gives you ideas to chew on. You'll find yourself asking, what would I have done in their situation, or was that betrayal justified? The complexity of the characters and their moral dilemmas invites deeper reflection, and that's where the film shines. It doesn't give you all the answers. Instead, it lets you form your own opinions, leading to conversations that can go in a million different directions. As for laughter, Black Bag 2025 knows exactly how to throw in those moments of levity at just the right time. Whether it's a sharp-witted retort from a character or a small, almost absurd moment that lightens the mood, the humor feels grounded. It's never overdone or forced. It's just enough to balance the intensity of the action and give you that sense of relief before plunging back into the chaos. These moments add a layer of realness to the film, reminding you that even in the midst of all the drama and danger, people still find ways to laugh and hold on to their humanity. Ultimately, Black Bag 2025 isn't just a film you watch. It's a film that sticks with you. It pulls you in emotionally, intellectually, and sometimes even physically. It makes you care about the characters, the plot, and the themes, and it leaves you with something to think about long after it ends. Whether it's excitement, shock, or even a bit of heartache, the film hits you right where it counts, and the best part, you'll want to come back for more. Black Bag 2025 isn't just another run-of-the-mill spy thriller, and it doesn't rely on the standard tropes you've seen 100 times before. If you're looking for the same old slick, suave secret agents pulling off impossible stunts, you're in for a surprise. While it has some familiar elements, the secretive organizations, high-tech gadgets, and intense action, it takes a different route, adding layers of complexity and a level of grit that sets it apart from the pack. First off, let's talk about the genre. Spy thrillers, espionage films, and action-packed political dramas are a dime a dozen these days. But Black Bag 2025 isn't just playing in the same sandbox as films like Mission, Impossible, James Bond, or even shows like Homeland. Instead of just focusing on the physical and external stakes, explosions, car chases, and nail-biting shootouts, it digs into the internal, emotional, and moral struggles of its characters. Yes, there's action, and yes, there's suspense, but the movie doesn't rely solely on these elements to create tension. It's more cerebral, playing with the psychology of the characters and the themes of trust, betrayal, and the blurred line between right and wrong. This is a film that makes you think as much as it makes your heart race. When you compare it to something like Mission Impossible, for example, where the stakes are often about preventing a global catastrophe or stopping an evil mastermind bent on world domination, Black Bag 2025 grounds its story in something more personal. The conflicts here are smaller in scope, but feel just as urgent. It's not just about saving the world. It's about dealing with the consequences of the decisions you've already made. This makes it feel more real and relatable. It's not that the action scenes are any less thrilling. It's just that the film leans heavily into the emotional stakes of its characters, making you feel like you're with them every step of the way. And when you look at it in the context of a franchise, Black Bag 2025 doesn't fall into the trap of feeling like just another chapter in an ongoing saga. Instead of recycling old ideas or leaning on familiar tropes, it introduces a fresh perspective within its own universe. It builds on the genre, but doesn't get bogged down by the expectations that come with it. There's a sense of newness in how the story unfolds, particularly when it comes to its central mystery and the relationships between characters. It doesn't spoon-feed the answers or let the audience off easy. It plays with your expectations and subverts what you think you know about spy thrillers. Comparing it to the director's previous films, you can see that there's a clear evolution in terms of style and ambition. If you're familiar with the director's past work, you'll notice that Black Bag 2025 takes a step away from the straightforward action-oriented films they've made in the past and dives into deeper, more introspective territory. The pacing is slower, the shots are more deliberate, and the film's tone is less about spectacle and more about character development and narrative depth. While you can still spot the signature style, tight, controlled action sequences, and a knack for creating suspense, this feels like a more mature approach to storytelling. It's as if the director has moved past the flashy elements and is now focusing on telling a story that resonates on a more human level. In terms of overall execution, it also stands out from other films in the genre by choosing to tackle relevant social and political issues. Whereas many spy thrillers focus on classic themes of national security, terrorism, or covert missions, Black Bag 2025 layers in commentary about privacy, surveillance, and the blurred lines of loyalty and betrayal in a way that feels current and significant. It's a film that asks deeper questions about our world today, rather than just setting up a fictional narrative. In this way, it's not just borrowing from other films. It's adding to the conversation, offering something fresh and thought-provoking for audiences who might be craving a little more than the typical action-packed spectacle. The way it handles character development is another area where it separates itself from its genre peers. Many spy thrillers focus on the hero's journey, or the classic lone wolf character who is morally ambiguous, but ultimately good. In Black Bag 2025, the characters are more gray and layered. They're not just dealing with external villains, but with their own inner demons. The film forces them to confront their decisions and actions in a way that feels more grounded than the typical hero versus villain dynamic. While the genre certainly comes with expectations, high action, quick pacing, and slick production, Black Bag 2025 doesn't hesitate to subvert those expectations. It's not afraid to slow down and explore the internal landscapes of its characters, diving deep into their motivations and struggles. This isn't just about fast cars and gunfights. It's about choices, consequences, and survival in a morally complex world. This approach may not be for everyone, especially those who are looking for a purely action-driven experience. But for those willing to engage with the film on a deeper level, it offers a rewarding and emotionally rich viewing experience that's unlike most other films in its genre. Ultimately, Black Bag 2025 doesn't just play by the usual spy movie playbook. It takes the elements you love about the genre and redefines them. It's a fresh take on the spy thriller formula, a deep dive into the human side of espionage, and a film that invites you to reflect on not just the story unfolding on screen, but the world around you. If you're expecting something formulaic, you might be surprised. This one's got something more up its sleeve. Black Bag 2025 doesn't just tell a story. It speaks in symbols, dropping subtle clues and hidden meanings that elevate the film from a standard action thriller to something much deeper. It's like the film is giving you a puzzle to solve, and with each piece you uncover, you realize there's more going on than what meets the eye. If you pay attention to the visuals, the colors, and the recurring motifs, you'll start to notice that almost every scene is layered with symbolic meaning. Let's start with one of the most prominent symbols in the film, the black bag itself. On the surface, it's just a prop, an ordinary object that serves a functional purpose. But as the film progresses, you begin to see it as something much more, a metaphor for secrecy, hidden truths, and the burdens of the past. It's never just a bag. It's a container for everything the characters want to keep hidden. Secrets, lies, mistakes. The film constantly reminds us of the weight of what's inside, both physically and emotionally. Every time someone opens the bag, it's not just about retrieving something. It's about confronting what has been buried. The bag becomes a representation of the character's own internal struggles, the things they try to lock away from the world, but can never truly escape. And then there's the use of light and shadow. Throughout the film, you'll notice that the lighting is often stark and contrasted, deep shadows creeping into every corner, sometimes enveloping the characters entirely. This isn't just a stylistic choice, it's a visual representation of the film's themes of moral ambiguity and duality. The characters, much like the lighting, exist in this liminal space between light and dark. They're not purely good or bad, but a blend of both, and the way the film manipulates light helps reinforce that. The shadows symbolize the parts of them they're trying to hide, while the light represents their attempts at redemption or truth. It's a constant tug of war, and the cinematography reflects that struggle in every frame. Speaking of light and dark, the contrast between day and night is another recurring motif in the film. While the daylight often represents moments of clarity or calm, it's during the night that things truly unravel. The night becomes the setting for the darkest moments, when secrets are exposed, when the true nature of the conflict comes to light. It's not just about time of day. It's about how the characters interact with their world when they are at their most vulnerable. In the daylight, they wear masks of professionalism and control. But when the darkness falls, the masks slip and the raw truth comes forward. It's in the shadows where the characters are forced to face their most uncomfortable truths. The recurring motif of mirrors also plays a huge role in the film. Mirrors are used strategically throughout, not only as reflective surfaces, but as symbols of self-reflection, identity, and deception. Characters often find themselves staring into mirrors at pivotal moments, as if trying to see the person they've become versus the person they once were. But these mirrors don't always show the truth. Sometimes they distort, crack, or even show only fragments of the character's face, emphasizing the idea that the truth is not always clear and identity is often fractured. It's a visual cue that underscores the internal conflict of the characters. They are constantly battling with who they were, who they are, and who they are trying to become. The mirrors become a silent reminder that everything is not as it seems, especially when it comes to one's self-perception. The film also uses repetition to reinforce certain thematic ideas. There are certain phrases, visual elements, and situations that keep reappearing, almost like a ticking clock in the background, adding to the tension. One of the most notable examples is the repeated image of keys. In various forms, keys show up throughout the film, often in moments of crisis or revelation. They're used to unlock secrets, to open doors to new revelations, and even to release the emotional baggage the characters are carrying. The idea of unlocking, both literally and metaphorically, runs deep in the film. The keys represent not just access to physical spaces, but also to hidden emotional realms. They symbolize freedom, but also the burden of what might be unlocked once the door is opened. One particularly striking visual metaphor is the storm. The storm in Black Bag 2025 isn't just about bad weather. It's a symbol for the emotional and psychological turmoil the characters experience as their world unravels. The storm serves as a backdrop to some of the most intense moments in the film, intensifying the sense of chaos and uncertainty. As the characters face these moments of emotional reckoning, the storm mirrors their inner turbulence, and when the storm finally clears, it's as if the characters have weathered their own internal conflict. It's the calm after the storm that offers a sense of resolution, but not without leaving behind the wreckage of what has been lost. And don't forget about the repeated imagery of cages. It's a subtle motif that appears several times throughout the film, often in the form of actual physical barriers, locked doors, prison cells, or even emotional walls that characters build around themselves. These cages are a visual representation of the limitations, constraints, and choices that the characters face. Are they trapped by their circumstances, or are they the ones keeping themselves locked in? The cages symbolize not just external control, but the internal limits that the characters place on themselves in order to avoid facing uncomfortable truths. All these layers of symbolism and metaphor come together to create a rich, immersive world where nothing is ever quite what it seems. Every object, every scene, and every interaction holds multiple meanings, giving the audience plenty to unpack. The film doesn't just tell you what's happening. It invites you to look deeper, to find meaning beneath the surface. And it's in these hidden visual cues and recurring motifs that the true depth of Black Bag 2025 lies. It's a film that asks you to think, reflect, and, above all, interpret. Every symbol, every metaphor is a piece of the puzzle, and by the end, you'll realize that the film has been building towards something much bigger than just the story of its characters. It's been telling a larger, more universal tale about the complexity of identity, truth, and the emotional baggage we all carry. Black Bag 2025 doesn't just feel like a standalone film. It's part of something bigger, an intricate web of interconnected narratives that builds on its predecessors while pushing the boundaries of its own universe. While not necessarily a full-fledged franchise in the traditional sense, the film carries with it echoes of the world that's come before, subtly acknowledging past events, characters, and plots without overwhelming the story. It's like finding hidden Easter eggs. Fans of the series will catch these fleeting references and connections, but they're never in your face. Instead, Black Bag 2025 works like a piece of a larger puzzle, deepening the complexity of the world it inhabits, while ensuring that newcomers to the story aren't left confused or alienated. The way it contributes to the overarching narrative is especially impressive. It doesn't just retread old ground or repeat what we've already seen in earlier films. Instead, it takes the ideas and themes established in earlier installments and flips them on their head, weaving them into a more intricate web of deception, conspiracy, and personal reckoning. The characters are evolving, their arcs expanding in ways that make them feel more human and less like caricatures. In that sense, Black Bag 2025 becomes a critical piece of the puzzle, offering revelations and emotional stakes that feel earned rather than forced. You could argue that this is a film that uses its place in the series not just to tell its own story, but to deepen and expand the lore, ensuring that every film builds on what came before it, each one playing a part in crafting a much richer world. The film doesn't shy away from making reference to its past, whether it's character history, plot threads, or unresolved mysteries from previous films. These callbacks feel natural, adding weight to the narrative. Instead of being tied to a formula, the movie uses its history as a way to explore the evolution of characters and the changing stakes of their world. These moments of reflection give the audience a sense of continuity, like reading a chapter in a book where everything that came before matters, but where you're still being propelled forward into new territory. Now, if you're wondering whether this film is part of a historical franchise or is based on real events, you're in for a treat because Black Bag 2025 doesn't rely on historical events in the traditional sense. Instead of strictly adhering to historical accuracy, it weaves real-world elements into its fictional narrative. It takes inspiration from political climates, global tensions, and societal issues, but doesn't bog itself down by attempting to be an exact replica of reality. In a way, it feels immersive because it captures the essence of real-world struggles without becoming a documentary or a based-on-true events type of film. It explores contemporary issues like government surveillance, power dynamics, and the erosion of privacy, all of which resonate with real-world concerns. But it uses these issues as the backdrop to its own narrative, not as the focus of a historical recounting. The accuracy in terms of portraying certain real-world events isn't about nailing every specific detail. It's about capturing the mood, the atmosphere, and the essence of a period in time. The characters and their actions are believable within the context of the world the film creates, even if that world is a heightened version of our own. The film isn't trying to replicate historical events to a T. It's more interested in how those events shape the characters' decisions, relationships, and struggles. It's like using real-world history as a mirror to reflect the personal conflicts and dilemmas at the heart of the story. The immersion comes not from historical accuracy, but from the way it feels true to the issues and emotions that drive the narrative. In terms of how the movie fits into its own timeline, Black Bag 2025 doesn't just offer a standalone experience. It's a crucial chapter in a larger saga. There's a continuity in both tone and thematic exploration that ties it together with its predecessors, but it also stands on its own, offering enough fresh material and character development that makes it feel like a necessary next step in a longer journey. It's a bit like the middle chapter in a trilogy. It deepens the world, sharpens the stakes, and leaves you with even more questions as you wait for the final act. If you're someone who's into long-running series, you'll appreciate how this film doesn't just keep the ball rolling, but instead uses its place in the narrative to offer new perspectives, challenge previous assumptions, and bring forward a more nuanced view of the world and characters. Even if you haven't seen the earlier films, you won't feel lost, but if you're a diehard fan, you'll find all the references and character developments rich with meaning. All in all, Black Bag 2025 may not be grounded in a specific historical event, but it immerses you in a world that feels just as real, dealing with issues that could easily be playing out in the headlines today. It does this without getting bogged down by the need to perfectly mirror history, instead using the emotional truth of its characters and their conflicts to create a world that feels immediate and relatable. Whether it's part of a series or an original piece, the film takes its place in the larger narrative with ease, adding depth to both the story and the universe it inhabits. When it comes to the budget of Black Bag 2025, let's just say the filmmakers didn't exactly have a bottomless pit of cash to play with, but what they managed to pull off with the resources at hand is pretty impressive. This isn't a movie that relies on flashy CGI or massive set pieces to grab your attention. Instead, the production quality comes from smart choices, a focus on strong performances, tight cinematography, and a gritty atmosphere that pulls you right into its world. The filmmakers understood that, in this case, the story and characters were going to be the real stars. The budget might have been modest, but the movie punches well above its weight in terms of how it delivers an engaging experience. The budget is often the silent partner in a film's success, working behind the scenes to shape what you see on screen. But Black Bag 2025 doesn't let its financial constraints hold it back. Instead, it maximizes its resources, using them to build an immersive atmosphere and focus on the narrative rather than unnecessary frills. If you're expecting a high-budget extravaganza with giant explosions and cutting-edge visual effects, then you might be in for a surprise. The film takes a more subdued approach, letting the character-driven story and tense atmosphere carry the weight. However, the box office reception? Well, that's where things get interesting. The film had a decent showing at the box office, but it didn't explode in the way some blockbuster films do. It wasn't an instant hit with mass audiences, but it certainly earned its place in the niche it was targeting. It found a loyal following, people who appreciated the deeper storytelling, the emotional investment in the characters, and the more thought-provoking aspects of the film. It wasn't the kind of film that you'd expect to see breaking records or dominating every theater, but it had staying power in its own right. The kind of film that might not rake in the huge numbers at first, but gains traction through word of mouth and repeat viewings. That kind of slow burn often leads to more long-term success than initial box office numbers. But it wasn't all about the box office. The film's marketing campaign played a huge role in how it was received. The buzz around Black Bag 2025 was intense, especially for fans of the genre. The marketing team knew exactly how to position the film as something that wasn't your typical thriller, but something deeper, more nuanced, and more emotionally resonant. The advertisements, trailers, and posters all conveyed a sense of mystery and tension, drawing audiences in with promises of a layered, intellectual experience. This careful approach to branding and audience engagement paid off in spades, as it attracted a crowd that might otherwise have overlooked it in favor of flashier releases. Then there's the audience reception, which was a huge factor in the film's overall success. Critics and audiences alike responded well to Black Bag 2025, particularly praising its ability to blend action with more reflective, cerebral moments. It might not have been a crowd pleaser in the traditional sense, but it built up a devoted fan base that appreciated the intelligence behind the film and the risks it took in terms of storytelling. Those who sought out the film didn't do so because they wanted something easy and mindless. They went in with the expectation that they'd be challenged, emotionally invested, and engaged with characters who weren't afraid to show their flaws. While it may not have broken box office records or become a worldwide phenomenon, Black Bag 2025 had a solid return on investment, especially considering the production budget. Its marketing campaign, combined with positive reception from audiences and critics, helped it find its niche and carve out a place in the market. It wasn't a flash-in-the-pan hit, but a slow and steady film that continued to resonate long after its initial release. When you look at the balance between its budget, production value, and earnings, it's clear that the film achieved more than what many would have expected. It's the kind of movie that doesn't necessarily need to make huge box office numbers to be considered a success. It's one of those films that builds its own momentum over time, winning fans one viewer at a time. It's also worth noting that films like Black Bag 2025 are more likely to generate stronger returns on home media sales, streaming, and word-of-mouth recommendations than they would from opening weekend numbers alone. It's the kind of movie that cultivates a following that sticks with it long after the credits roll. People aren't just watching it once. They're coming back for the deeper layers, the emotional moments, and the richness of the characters. In short, the film's financial success is a bit of a mixed bag, but if we're looking at the bigger picture, it definitely found its audience. Its budget was wisely allocated, focusing on the things that really mattered, and while the box office numbers weren't explosive, it created a lasting impact, proving that quality storytelling often matters more than a big opening weekend. The marketing helped bring it to the right audience, and that's what allowed it to maintain momentum, earning a reputation that could very well keep it relevant for years to come. So, you're itching to watch Black Bag 2025 and dive into its world of intrigue, emotion, and mystery? Well, you're in luck, because the film is making its rounds in all the right places. But let's talk about where you can experience it, because not all watching experiences are created equal. First things first, if you're lucky enough to catch it while it's still running in theaters, don't miss out on the big screen. There's something about the atmosphere, the tension, and those gripping moments that you just can't replicate anywhere else. The sound design, the visuals, and the raw intensity of the performances, they all come together in a way that pulls you deep into the film. Being surrounded by an audience adds to that electric vibe. The shared experience, the gasps, the laughs, and the collective reactions amplify the emotional roller coaster the film takes you on. Plus, there's a certain magic about seeing something unfold on the silver screen, where the action feels larger than life and every scene is finely crafted for maximum impact. Now, if you've missed it in theaters or are more of a homebody, don't worry. Black Bag 2025 is available for digital rental. This is your chance to grab a bowl of popcorn, settle in, and press play from the comfort of your own home. Streaming is a fantastic option, especially for those who want to pause during those intense moments to catch their breath or take a quick snack break. Because let's face it, some scenes are going to make you want to pause and process everything. You'll be able to find the film on all major streaming platforms, and whether you're using Amazon Prime, Apple TV, or something else, it's just a few clicks away. But here's the thing. To truly get the most out of Black Bag 2025, there's a certain way to approach it. While the movie will hold up on any device, if you're looking for that full impact, try to watch it on the biggest screen you can find. Get yourself some good speakers or headphones to capture every moment of the score and sound design, which is an integral part of the atmosphere. The film thrives on building tension through its audio cues and subtle soundscapes. When those details hit, you'll feel them much more profoundly. Trust me, the little audio cues you might miss on a TV speaker will come to life when you hear them on a solid sound system. Plus, don't rush through it. Black Bag 2025 is a slow burn in many ways. So taking your time to sit through it without distractions will ensure you appreciate the nuances of the characters, plot twists, and the overall pacing. Yes, it's tempting to multitask or glance at your phone, but resist. The movie's rhythm is deliberate, and you'll want to immerse yourself completely in what's unfolding on screen. There are layers here, and if you let yourself be pulled in, you'll catch them. For the best experience, dim the lights, turn off your phone, and just watch. The way the film uses shadows, light, and framing will have a much bigger effect when you're fully present. And if you're the kind of viewer who likes to have discussions about films, perhaps consider watching it with a friend or a group. It's a movie that opens up plenty of room for conversation, theories, and analysis. You'll find yourself talking about the twists, character decisions, and overall themes long after the credits roll. Having someone else there to bounce thoughts off can really enhance your understanding of the film. For those who love the physical experience, Black Bag 2025 is also likely to land on Blu-ray or DVD after its digital run. This is the perfect opportunity if you like owning a copy of the film and having it ready to pop in whenever you feel like revisiting its world. Plus, with physical copies often come bonus features, director commentaries, behind-the-scenes footage, or interviews that give you a peek into the creative process behind the film. These extra details can really enrich your viewing experience, making it feel like you're part of the journey from start to finish. So, whether you're catching it in theaters, renting it digitally, or buying a physical copy to add to your collection, there are plenty of ways to experience Black Bag 2025. The key takeaway here is that the film deserves your full attention to fully appreciate its atmosphere, character development, and emotional depth. Take your time, immerse yourself, and let the world of Black Bag 2025 unfold in front of you.